For some This Week in the NHL with Tom Mees. This week in the NHL, the Stanley Cup Finals move westward to beautiful Vancouver as the towel-waving Canuck fans see their first Stanley Cup Final action ever. But the Islanders are not fazed by the Vancouver crowd, and led by Mike Bossy, continues strong play in games 3 and 4. Billy Smith was also tough in the Islander nets, giving up just one Canuck goal in 2 games. And when it was over Sunday night, the Islanders were again parading around with the Stanley Cup high above their heads. Hello, everyone. Welcome back once again to This Week in the NHL. I'm Tom Mees. In the next 30 minutes, we'll travel to beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia for the wrap-up of Stanley Cup play for 1982 as the Islanders and Canucks battle for Lord Stanley's Cup. Next on This Week in the NHL.
ESPN program is brought to you by Natural Light, the beer with the taste for food.
What's more natural than Natural Light?
When the feast runs deep, fresh and flavorful, what's more natural than Natural Light beer? Ah, Natural Light from Anheuser-Busch, the beer with a taste for food. Just naturally right with all those good things from the sea you love to eat. So when you've really put something into a meal,
What's more natural than Natural Light?
Vancouver, British Columbia, home of beautiful scenery like this, lies next to the Pacific Ocean, just about an hour's ride north of Seattle, Washington. It's a city steeped in tradition, with the British influence still very much in evidence. Yet it's a cosmopolitan city on the move as well. It is one of Canada's leading port cities, and as I found out, a great hockey town. You're looking at a statue of Lord Stanley, which stands very proudly at the entrance to Stanley Park in Vancouver, British Columbia. Lord Stanley, of course, also is credited with naming the Stanley Cup. That's the piece of hardware that the New York Islanders and the Vancouver Canucks were battling for in the Stanley Cup Finals. And when the Canucks came home to Vancouver after the first 2 games on Long Island, they trailed 2 games to none. The odds were against them as they entered Game 3 against the Stanley Cup champions, but the Canucks players and their fans were not conceding anything yet. To the strains of O Canada, the Canadian national anthem, the crowd goes wild at Pacific Coliseum, waving their white towels as they get set to watch their first ever Stanley Cup final game, and they hope that King Richard Brodeur, will come up big in the nets as he has all throughout the playoffs. It's been the play of Brodeur that really brought the Canucks to the Stanley Cup Finals. He's been so good that some people are even saying that Brodeur ought to run for God. But it wasn't Brodeur who stole the show in Game 3. It was Islanders veteran goaltender Billy Smith coming up big time and again and shutting the door on the Vancouver Canucks. Smith was the difference.
Smith came up big early in the game where we had a 5-on-3. We had some excellent chances. Billy Smith, we know he's an excellent goaltender, and he made some great saves, and that could have been a turning point of the game there.
You saw some super smart play. You saw Stephen Pearson give me his stick at the right moment in order so I could have something in my hands. That's just smart hockey. And like I said, that's guys played with their heads tonight. And I don't really deserve the shutout. It's the 20 guys that were in front of me.
While Billy Smith was doing the job shutting the door on the Canucks, the Islanders played their usual strong game, getting a goal from Clark Gillies and another goal off a great effort by Mike Bossy. Watch the shot, the rebound, and Bossy will come back and score as he's falling to the ice. They won the game 3-0.
We played with more discipline tonight. Don't ask me why we did it tonight and we didn't the last game. Sometimes you put yourself in trouble, and you know you're doing it, but you do it anyway. And, tonight we didn't put ourselves in trouble.
We knew we had to certainly tighten up. I didn't think we played very well in either one of those games.
We played very loose. We got the goals, but we gave them an awful lot of opportunities. We wanted to play this type of game tonight. We wanted to really forecheck them, really force them into mistakes and keep them off balance. And I thought we did. And I thought we played an excellent hockey game and a very intelligent hockey game.
The convincing 3-0 shutout put the Islanders just one win away. Now they were close enough to entertain thoughts of winning their third straight Stanley Cup title.
3 Stanley Cups in a row.
We got one more win to go, and let's face it, my expression right now is the most I can play is 4, the least I can play is 1. That's the only way I'm looking at it.
You're hungry even though you're just 60 minutes away from your third straight Stanley Cup?
That's why we're hungry. We want that third one right now. Okay.
Have you even had a chance to think about that third one?
Well, I think about it a lot. So I got 3 daughters, and only 2 of them got rings right now, so I need a third one for the other one. So that's really what I'm after right now.
And here is what all the fuss is about. Hockey's holy grail, the Stanley Cup. The last couple of years, this cup has been the personal property of the New York Islanders. And there weren't many people heading into Game 4 of the finals who felt that the Vancouver Canucks could do anything to forestall the Islanders' annual May ritual, parading around the ice with yet another Stanley Cup. We'll be back to tell you the story of Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals when This Week in the NHL continues in just a moment.
It's Winter Swan Song on ESPN. Greg Gumbel hosts a look at pro basketball's championship series on This Week in the NBA. And the season's almost over for Tom Mees as he wraps up Stanley Cup action on This Week in the NHL. Spring is here on ESPN.
ESPN is the choice for Sports Monday. Take a look at what's a hit in the major leagues with this week's edition of Inside Baseball. Then, footy fans will be treated to some robust action when Richmond and Collingwood try to capture an Australian rules football victory. And PKA Full Contact Karate puts its best foot forward as Anthony Salerno and Roy Kleckner meet in the U.S. Super Lightweight Championship. The sporting kicks continue Monday on ESPN.
It's the World Figure Skating Championships, twice as nice as ESPN presents the Pairs Competition, Tuesday.
Well, this isn't the Lone Ranger. This famous masked man is Islander goalie Billy Smith. And Smith and his teammates were definitely looking forward to a 4-game sweep over the Canucks. Coach Al Arbour appears very relaxed during a team practice. And speaking of relaxed, look at Mike Bossy along the boards. Come on, Mike, don't go to sleep on us. But the Islanders were not taking the Canucks lightly, as this shot of Bossy might suggest. The Islanders were loose in practice, and watch Billy Smith stop pucks not with his stick, but with his feet. My goodness, I've never seen that before. Anyway, the Islanders were asked before Game 4 if the third Cup win could compare to their first Stanley Cup victory.
Well, I don't think we'll ever have the emotion we had the first time. The first time was really the big one, but let's face it, each time you win it, it is a thrill.
Oh, there's no way you can recapture the emotion of the first Stanley Cup. That's something that you just, there's nothing else like it. It's like when you have your firstborn baby. There's just no emotion for that. There's no way you can replace that emotion. It's very hard to describe, too. The third one is going to have its own separate category again, and that's what we want to capture.
While the Islanders talked about ending the series in 4 straight games, Canuck general manager Harry Neal knew the series was over, but he paid his team lip service anyway.
Well, this series isn't over yet, although we have a terrible mountain to climb, and we want to win a game in the finals here, and, you know, sometimes the hardest game to win in a series is the last one, and especially when the Stanley Cup's sitting at the end of the rink.
The only team to ever fall 3-0 behind and then come back to win the Stanley Cup, the 1943 Toronto Maple Leafs. Realistically, though, the series between the Vancouver Canucks and New York Islanders ended from a standpoint of the series after the third game. The only question going into the fourth game was whether the Canucks could prevent a sweep or whether the Islanders would wrap up their third straight Stanley Cup in 4 straight games. Vancouver Canucks trailed 3-0 coming into the fourth game at the Pacific Coliseum, but the way their crowd reacted when they took the ice, you never would have known it. The towel waving was just contagious around the Pacific Coliseum, and it really got the Canucks charged up for an ultimate effort in the first few moments of play. The Canucks came out hitting and hitting strong, and perhaps the biggest member of the Canuck defense, Harold Snep's number 27, typify the effort by the team as he takes Brent Sutter into the boards early. But the Islanders held off the initial emotional charge from Vancouver. Billy Smith was great in the nets once again. And Mike Bossy, well, he was Mike Bossy. He scored 2 goals, both on the power play in the second period. Watch Trottier behind the net, the Potvin to Bossy all alone for Mike's first goal of the 4th game. And a few minutes later in the second period of play, Bossy takes on the appearance of a sniper as he beats Brodeur between the legs. Mike Bossy copping the MVP award with 17 playoff goals. The game ended with the final score, the Islanders 3 and the Vancouver Canucks 1. And once again, the New York Islanders, for the 3rd year in a row, had won Lord Stanley's Cup. And of course, the teammates climb over the boards to mob Billy Smith, the goalie. There's Coach Al Arbor, maybe the best coach in all of hockey. Still doesn't know if he'll be back next year. Goalie Billy Smith, handshakes all around. At center ice, as the Islanders and the Canucks engage in the traditional handshake. And now, here comes the Stanley Cup, what they've been playing for all year. And President John Ziegler will hand the Stanley Cup over to team captain Dennis Potvin, who played so very well in the Stanley Cup Final Series. Potvin's got the cup. He waltzes around the rink to a chorus of some cheers and, yes, some boos in Vancouver. But one thing you can't deny, the New York Islanders have won the Cup for the 3rd year in a row, and they deserve to be mentioned with some of the greatest teams in the NHL. And those teams include the likes of the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Montreal Canadiens. Besides the Islanders, the only other 2 teams to ever win as many as 3 Cups in a row. Last year, after you won your 2nd Cup in a row, some people said it was too early to mention this team in the same breath with the great Montreal team. Has that changed now?
I certainly hope so. My God. You know, we had a tough road the first couple of years, and this year certainly wasn't easy. We were facing elimination against the Pittsburgh Penguins in the 5th game. So we came through a lot of adversity, and I think that it's only great teams that do that.
I may be a little biased, but I think it's unbelievable that we've won 3 Cups in a row. You just don't do that unless you got a great hockey club. It's too easy to get beat if you don't work hard, if you don't have the talent, the desire, and the will to win. I mean, we've got to go down in record books with names like Toronto, Montreal, Detroit, and all those teams.
It's always hard to compare teams in the past, but I certainly have to think that we got to be mentioned with anybody. I mean, we're a great hockey team. We're 1 8 in a row or 9 in a row now, and you know, all those games in a row, and to come into somebody's building and you know, and sweep them, I think it's a tremendous accomplishment.
Now that you've won 3 Cups in a row, does this team finally deserve to be mentioned with the great Montreal teams of the past?
Or do the great Montreal teams deserve to be mentioned with us?
So the Islanders have certainly dispelled any lingering doubts that they are indeed a great team. And they've won 3 Stanley Cups in succession, which qualifies that franchise as a legitimate dynasty. What do you guys do for an encore?
Go out there and win a 4th one, but we won't be thinking of that until training camp starts next year.
Does it ever get boring winning Stanley Cups 3 in a row now?
Well, let's face it, we'll walk into next year and everybody will expect it again.
This man is Charles Schwab. You may not know him, but Wall Street does, because Charles Schwab has built a giant brokerage firm on a single new idea. Investors who don't need a broker's advice shouldn't pay for it. When Charles Schwab customers buy or sell, they save up to 75% of the commissions they'd have to pay full commission brokers. At Charles Schwab & Company, brokers don't advise. They execute orders, often in 60 seconds. Your securities are protected up to $500,000. Idle investment cash can be automatically transferred to a money market fund. Today, Charles Schwab's company, a member of the New York Stock Exchange, is the largest discount brokerage firm in the country, with over 40 offices nationwide. If you can decide on your own what securities you want to buy or sell, phone Charles Schwab. For your free information kit and rate schedule, call this toll-free number now, 800-453-8500. That's 800-453-8500.
Several New York Islanders had good performances in the recently completed playoffs, including Bobby Bourne, who came on after a lackluster regular season for him. Butch Goring was the same old self again, steady in the playoffs, especially on the penalty-killing and power play units. Brian Trottier, all he did was set a brand-new National Hockey League record for assists by a player in postseason play. But without a doubt, the Conn Smythe Trophy for the most valuable player in the playoffs could really only be awarded to one man, Mike Bossy. Mike Bossy has been an incredible scorer since entering the NHL 5 years ago. He has a record of attaining at least 50 goals in each one of those first 5 years. And his scoring touch hasn't suffered in the playoffs either, especially in the past 3 years when the Islanders won the Stanley Cup. 1980, the Islanders played a total of 16 games. You may recall they beat the Flyers in the finals that year. And Bossy had 10 goals in those 16 games. In 81, as they met the North Stars in the final, they played a total of 18 games throughout the playoffs, and Bossy really stepped up the pace, 17 goals. And here again this year in 82, 17 goals in 19 games. That's not half bad. But Mike Bossy, well, take a look at his totals. He's played 53 games in the past 3 years in the playoffs. He scored 44 goals. That's almost a goal a game. But Bossy almost didn't make the playoffs this season because of an injury that happened in the final regular season game at Pittsburgh. Our Sam Rosen was there to recall the moment.
Warren leaves off for Trottier. Out to Bossy. In against Price. Bossy fires. Glove save. Dion clears to the side. Boutet picks it up. 5:45 to go, second period. Bossy pulled down. Price will go. Penalty called. Bossy is hurt. A penalty called on Pat Price, and the Islanders immediately taking exception to it, and Bossy is in some pain.
This was perhaps the most tense moment of the season for the Islanders and their fans. We take a look at the replay. Defenseman Pat Price slashing at Mike Bossy, hitting him right on the left knee. Some people felt that Bossy wouldn't be back for the first round of the playoffs against those same Penguins, but he was back. He scored 2 goals in the first round against Pittsburgh in that 5-game series, and had 8 more in the second and third round against the Rangers and Quebec. Then in the Stanley Cup Finals against Vancouver, Bossy notched 7 goals, having the hat trick in Game 1, including a winner in overtime as he intercepted a pass from Harold Snepps.
Mike, is this the most maybe satisfying Stanley Cup victory for you of the last 3?
Well, personally, I had to overcome something. I had to go out there and play against a team that plays a kind of hockey that I don't. And I was proud of the fact that I was able to go out there and score and help my team towards the Stanley Cup.
For the always humble Bossy, just playing in the NHL is good enough. The Stanley Cup, icing on the cake.
Well, it's funny. When I was a kid, it was something to think about playing in the National Hockey League, but it was something I loved doing, and I really couldn't even imagine getting paid for doing something that I enjoyed doing so much, because it wasn't practice, it wasn't work then, it was all fun. And the fun of the hockey game hasn't left me yet. I still enjoy going out there, and I still love scoring and helping the team win. And, you know, as long as you have that with you when you're playing, it makes it that much more satisfying.
Bossy won the Conn Smythe Trophy as MVP of the Stanley Cup playoffs. He also won the All-Star MVP earlier and got a car with each award.
Well, I sure am glad I won it.
Now you've got another car in your hands. You know, Sport Magazine will give you another car. You got one at the All-Star game. It's getting a habit for him.
Yeah, I know. The All-Star car is still sitting in my garage with a flat, so I hope the other ones have 4 good tires on it.
I can see it now in front of Mike Bossy's house tomorrow. There'll be a big neon sign, Bossy Motors, grand opening. He's got 2 brand new cars to put on the block. Well, Islander fans have been criticized in the past for their lack of enthusiasm in supporting their heroes, but they did turn out by the thousands on Wednesday afternoon to honor the Stanley Cup champions in a parade on Long Island. We have a look at some of the action during that parade. Of course, the Islanders, there's Butch Goring, and you see Brent Sutter and Brian Trottier. We did it again. Yes, you did, guys. 3 Stanley Cups in a row. A crowd estimated of some 35,000 fans was on hand to greet their heroes. It was a 4.5-mile-long parade route through and around Uniondale, Long Island. There's the MVP, Mike Bossy, of the Islanders. You know, you think about what the Islanders organization has done in 10 years. They built that dynasty. 10 years ago, they were an expansion team with a record of 12, 60, and 6. And now they've won 3 straight Stanley Cups. Incredible. For Vancouver Canuck coach Roger Nielsen, the past few weeks had been like a storybook. Nielsen, the former Toronto and Buffalo head man, didn't take over the Canuck head reins until coach Harry Neal was suspended by the NHL for 10 games for going into the stands at Quebec to deal with an unruly patron. Under Nielsen, the Canucks went undefeated in their last 9 regular season games and all the way to the finals. Now, Coach Roger Nielsen knows that he lost to a better team in the Islanders, but he would like to have been more competitive.
You know, they've got probably the best player in the game in Trottier, the best scorer in the game in Bossy, and the best defenseman in the playoffs every year in Potvin. And then they've got good goalkeeping and a good, tough, hard-working supporting cast and probably the top coach in the game. So that's no disgrace losing to them, but and we were in every game, but we would have liked to have won a few.
Still, Coach Roger Nielsen and his Canucks have nothing to be ashamed of. And I've heard of parades for winners like the Islanders before, but the Canucks, they got to the finals and lost, and yet they had maybe a bigger parade than the Islanders had through the streets of Vancouver. There are fans who are loyal, sometimes critical, still poured out to honor the Stanley Cup finalists. They had a parade of their own, and Bernie Pascal was there and has this report for This Week in the NHL.
It was a carnival-like atmosphere in Vancouver as thousands of fans saluted the Stanley Cup finalists, the Vancouver Canucks, with a downtown parade. The Canucks lost the Stanley Cup final to the New York Islanders, but you'd never know it by the celebration in Vancouver. Canuck players rode in open convertibles under partly sunny skies and were greeted by the cheers from the tens of thousands of rabid towel-waving fans. A prized possession in the car with Stan Smeal and defenseman Doug Hallward, the Clarence Campbell Conference Championship Trophy. Vancouver Canuck forward Tiger Williams had a prized possession of his own.
It's a nice feeling right now, and I really appreciate what the fans have given us and supported us so well, and we'd sure like to show our support next year by winning the Stanley Cup.
Harold? It's been just great, and all I really have to say is that this is just a warm-up for next year.
It took the Vancouver Canucks 12 years to reach the Stanley Cup final, but the players and fans are confident the drought won't be that long again. In fact, most are already looking ahead to next season.
It will indeed be a short summer in Vancouver. They're already gearing up for next National Hockey League season. Well, the Vancouver Canucks' rise to the Stanley Cup finals, to be truthful, was meteoric and totally unexpected by just about everyone in the NHL. And many an expert says the Canucks will not be in the finals next year or for several years to come. So this Stanley Cup final was indeed a very special moment to be savored by the Vancouver Canucks and their fans.
A great feeling to be part of something like that. There's a real team feeling for the Vancouver Canucks now, and there's a lot of hard work put into it, and we know what it takes to get here, but it takes a little bit more to win the Stanley Cup.
Our fans did a great job for us. They probably won us a lot of games in the playoffs, and it was good for our owners too, because he's a hell of a guy.
They scratched and clawed and did anything they had to do in order to win here, and that makes them winners. We just know that we have a system here that's very, very hard to beat.
The 4-game sweep is no indication of how hard we had to work to win each game.
It's right for them to be here. There was no fluke at all. They've worked hard, and they're a grinding hockey club, and they got all the reasons in the world to be here.
That's what everybody's asking. How do you think you'll do next year? And I hope the expectations aren't too high here. When they are, the coach is usually gone by Christmas.
Experts agree
One of the major reasons for poor putting is a twisting of the putter head during your stroke. But now there's help. The revolutionary new Stroke Right. Stroke Right is a sophisticated new training device which teaches you to putt in a perfectly straight line each and every time. Stroke Right's unique clamp and bar effect helps correct the twisting error found in putting. Its patented system prevents your putter blade from turning while you execute a perfect stroke. Stroke Right comes in two sections, the guide clamp which fits on your own putter and the precision-engineered parallel bar section. The clamp is placed on the bars and is fully adjustable from a flat lie to a fully upright position. When you practice with Stroke Right, you'll train your muscle memory, then carry the correct stroke out onto the golf course for actual playing. Stroke Right is great for use in the office, at home, or on the putting green. Fits both right and left-handed golfers and makes a great gift. Don't miss another putt ever. And don't miss this chance to order Stroke Right, a breakthrough in putting training.
To order your Stroke Right, rush $39.95 plus $3 shipping and handling to Stroke Right, Box 121, Plainville, Connecticut 06062. For even faster service, call 1-800-453-9000 and charge it to your Visa or MasterCard. That's 1-800-453-9000. Call now.
While the Stanley Cup title was being decided this past week, the Central Hockey League Adams Cups finals were being concluded as well. The Indianapolis Checkers, the farm team of the New York Islanders, met the Dallas Blackhawks, the top farm club of not Chicago, but you guessed it, Vancouver. Who won? Well, the same team as did in the Stanley Cup finals. The farm team of the Islanders, Indianapolis, wins it in 6 games. The final game last Friday, Indianapolis beating Dallas by a score of 5-1 to win the Adams Cup. 4-2. Congratulations to the Indianapolis Checkers. It has been a wonderful, wacky year in the National Hockey League. Next week on This Week in the NHL, we're going to put a bow knot on it and recall some of the great moments from this past year. Moments like these. Well, do you remember the high scoring? How many times have we had 6, 7, 8, 9, 50 goal scorers? There's one of them, Dennis Pee Wee Marook of Washington. Wayne Gretzky, the year of the great one. He scored 50 goals in just 39 games. And remember the night that Wayne Gretzky broke Phil Esposito's goal-scoring mark for one season? It happened at the Aud in Buffalo. We'll relive that as well. And how about President Reagan hosting the National Hockey League All-Stars in Washington and being awarded a miniature Stanley Cup and his own personal NHL jersey? What about the Islanders' tremendous winning streak? 15 games in a row, all wins, no ties involved. And what about some of those wacky upsets in the playoffs, the Vancouver Canucks and the LA Kings, just to mention a few? A reminder to be with us next week for the finale of This Week in the NHL, and we'll take a look at the year in review, 1981-82. That's next Thursday, 7 Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time for the final edition of This Week in the NHL. I'm Tom Mees. Thanks for being with us. Congratulations to the New York Islanders, Stanley Cup champions. We'll see you next Thursday on This Week in the NHL.